Yes, hello everyone. It's player ratings time. It's finished Preston 0, Watford 1. Joined by Sam and Elliot to discuss the lineup, discuss player ratings, and get your guys' thoughts as well. So make sure you do leave your player ratings in the comment section below in the live chat, whether you're watching this live or back afterwards. Let us know your player ratings down in the comment section below. We'll get straight into it with Daniel Backman, Sam. I'm going to throw it over to Sam first because Sam, I'm going to be honest, has an absolute love affair with Daniel Backman. I love the bloke, but Sam, I think you might be in the supervan category of Daniel Backman followers. But what would you give his what would you give his performance today?
I think you're dead on there. I'm a massive fan of Sam Backman. No, I just think I mentioned it in the match review. If you haven't watched that yet, make sure after to go and have a watch of it. But cheeky plug in there. But no, but generally, I just think he offers something else to this Watford team that Ben Foster perhaps didn't offer, and he seems to kind of show a sense of leadership. Composure and general all-round play is so good, and tonight I thought again he was superb. Managed to claim a lot of balls even though he didn't have a big save to make, so I'm going to go clean sheet 8.5.
8.5. We've got 9. We've got an 8. We've got 7.5 from Rudy. So it's kind of, I'd say around the 8.5 mark is 8.5 would probably be about right. Elliot, yeah. For you, we'll move on to Kiko Femenia, who, you know, you can tell the difference when Kiko's in the side and particularly down that right flank. And you mentioned in the match reaction about how good the fullbacks were. Kiko, for you, what are you giving him today?
I think I'll give him an 8. I don't want to go too over the top with it because I don't think he had an absolutely extraordinary performance. I think he was very good. He didn't create any complete chances that led to goals, so that's why he probably wouldn't get up in the really high ratings. But everything he did well. I feel like I'm saying this every week with Kiko Femenia. He just does everything. He does all the simple things really well. He's good in attack. He's good at the back, and I think an 8 probably sums that up best.
Yeah, 8 I think is probably fair as well. Sam, will flip it over to the left back spot. Adam Messina. Is it a similar rating to Kiko or maybe slightly lower?
Slightly lower. I'm going to go 7 for Adam Messina. I thought particularly in the first half he was one of the more shaky players. I think you could tell with Cisco he wanted his defenders to kind of play out from the back and play it into midfield. But at times Adam Messina was launching it long a bit. So I'm going to give him a 7 instead of any higher than that. But overall, solid still.
Yeah, I think it's probably fair. Yeah, no, I agree with you, mate. I think the two fullbacks are definitely probably Premier League level, and I think they've shown that in the last couple of games anyway. The two centre backs, Sierralta, we'll start with him, Elliot. Again, I thought he was fantastic, and probably the better out of the two. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair, and I don't think that's a slight on Cathcart because it's his first game back in a while, and it is difficult to get back into a team like that that's played so well defensively as a unit, and to break into that, it is difficult. But yeah, Sierralta, I think I'd give him an 8.5. No, I'll give him an 8. I don't want to go too over the top with it because he was very good, and like Kiko Femenia, it is now becoming the standard for him to have a performance like that, strong in the air, just defended everything perfectly, and his distribution, playing it out from the back, is very good as well. So I think an 8. I think 8.5 is.
I'm just seeing this comment. We call it the beautiful game because Sierralta plays what a beautiful man.
It reminds me of Sebastian Proda. I used to just look at him in awe of that man bun as well. Just the second coming.
Maybe it is a man bun thing. Have we ever seen a Watford player play badly with a man bun? I know we're going to think of one that's terrible in a second. But
wait, surely there's got to be someone.
Is one, isn't there? In the live chat or in the comments, think of one because I
that is a great. Yeah. You know what? If there was a Watford pub quiz, that's a great question. Name as many players in Watford's history who's had a man bun. But to be fair, if Sierralta can produce a Prodal versus Latan performance, then I think mate, what a performance that was, by the way. I tell you, I don't think if there's any man buns, let us know in the comment section. We'll try and read some of them out. We'll move over to the other centre back today. Sam's Craig Cathcart came in for Truce Kong. Is it slightly lower than Sierralta or about the same?
I'll give Cathcart a 7.5. I think credit to him coming in after a long spell on the sidelines.
Yeah,
a real professional for Craig Cathcart is, and he's an important asset to this Watford side considering he was here last time we got promoted. And I thought the start, understandably so, he looked a bit rusty, a bit shaky. He wasn't winning headers, and and let his man go a couple of times. But overall, really solid, clean sheet. So I'll give Craig Cathcart 7.5.
7.5. We'll move on to the midfield. Of course, Xisco opted again for the 4-3-3 system. We'll start with the player in the 6th role, the anchor, Will Hughes. Elliot, what are you giving him today? It's a difficult one, isn't it? Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
And because he was solid again, and it is that, again, like with Sierra, like with Kiko Femini, the norm is a very, very good performance from Will Hughes. So I think he's got to be an 8. He brings a certain energy to that midfield, and he allows other players like Cleverley and Chalobah to do their thing whilst also operating in the midfield perfectly. He dealt with their midfield, which is a pretty strong midfield by all accounts, and I think Ben Whiteman was kept pretty quiet for the most part in that game. And I don't think Will Hughes can escape credit because he was fantastic today, and I think an 8 is about right for the level that he's at the moment. He's
Elliot,
so good.
Yeah, agreed. And Elliot, just on that, do you feel Will Hughes is that sort of player in this Watford team where he just improves the performance of everyone around him? It does feel like Cleverley's taken his game up a little bit, so is Chalobah as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see when he comes onto the pitch from the bench as well, how much the team get a lift. We didn't see that today, obviously, because he was on from minute 1, but he absolutely improves the rest of the team. And with the amount that he does off the ball and on the ball, he allows his teammates to maybe do things that are slightly more risky because they know that they've got Hughes there to pick up the pieces if it goes wrong. I think, like I said before, Cleverley and Chalobah play a maybe more comfortable role knowing that Hughes is there in the 6. And he's not necessarily a natural 6, and he feels like a natural 6. You know, he's played as an 8. He's played even further forward. He's played out on the right. You know, he's played so many different positions, and he just looks really comfortable in the furthest back position, which is.
I think I've mentioned this before. I think when he looks back on his career, I think the one man he'll be thanking is Nigel Pearson, because I think it was him who's kind of found Will Hughes' best position and found a way of bringing the best out of him. So, I mean, I'd go higher. I'd say Hughes was an 8.5 for me. I thought he was fantastic and set the tone for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I think he's probably definitely one of the better performers. But someone who I think was probably deserved a man of the match is Tom Cleverley. Sam, I don't know whether you agree with that. And
9,
you mentioned him.
Yeah.
9. You got 9.
Yeah, my man of the match for me. I thought he was absolutely fantastic on a night where you're not going to blow teams away and where you kind of need to consistent, be patient. I thought he epitomises that. I mentioned on the match reaction how impressed I was with Tom Cleverley tonight. You know, I wouldn't say 10 because I think 10 is kind of the bar for 10 now is Saar against.
Yes,
City,
that's what we've set. We've set.
That's the bar for a 10 now. You have to get 5 goal involvements now.
I think a 9. I think, to be fair though, Sam, a 9 was. You know, I think a lot of people are saying him. I think David said my son gives Cleverley man of the match. Ben says an 8.5 for Cleverley. Around that ball mark, a 9, says Rudy. He just seems to epitomise everything Watford fans want from him. You know, as you mentioned, the work, the effort, the desire, the commitment. And then on a night like this, we really needed that.
Yeah, I mean, as a supporter, all you can ask for really is your players to give 100% and play for the shirt. And that's exactly what Tom Cleverley does. And that's what you kind of need when you're not in the stadium, able to support the team and get behind the boys. You want to see players who are just generally giving it their all and who look like they want to get promoted. And I think Tom Cleverley leads by example with that. So I'm going to give him a 9 today.
Yeah, I think Tom Cleverley was man of the match. I don't know whether you have any, Elliot, are you in agreement with that, or did you think someone else should take the man of the match award tonight?
Yeah, I think it's fair to give Tom Cleverley man of the match. It's difficult because there were a lot of very strong performances from the Watford team, but I don't think we would have played as well as we did without someone like Tom Cleverley in the midfield pressing and also filling out the role of captain as he did. I think he was just fantastic, and he has been now for a while. And I think, as we said in the match reaction, he looks much better in a 3 in midfield. And this 4-3-3 seems to have unlocked new things for Watford, and I hope that means that the only way is up, and from Cleverley's perspective too. Yeah,
absolutely. So, Elliot, I'll throw it over to you. Nathaniel Chalobah, the last of the midfield 3, came off in the second half of Dan Gosling. That seems to be the change in the last 2 games. It'll be interesting to see if Chalobah continues in the left central midfield role or whether Dan Gosling will play. I'll tell you what, before we get into your rating, is that midfield 3 kind of complete for you, or do you think Dan Gosling could maybe come in the next couple of games?
I like there to be a bit of competitiveness in the midfield. Well, in all positions, I like there to be a bit of a fight for positions, and I think that's where the defence benefits having so much talent in those positions. So I'd like to keep the door open for Dan Gosling. And as we saw, like with, maybe this isn't the best example, but Bachmann coming in for Foster, Bachmann is now the number one. I think if Dan Gosling can come in, maybe when Chalobah's suspended, or if Cleverley takes a game out or something like that, if he comes in and makes that his own and puts in some very good performances, which he already has done off the bench, then I'd like to see Dan Gosling be one of the main three in the midfield. So I think
I was just saying though, I think that's so important to have that. I think one reason why Kiko Femini's performances have improved is because of the quality Jeremy Ngakia brings. I think we might see a rise in Messina's game now because of Ashraf Lazar coming in. And I think the competitiveness in the centre-backs positions kind of lifts all of their performances as well, because they know when they come in, they have to perform. And I think probably Cathcart's done enough to retain his spot for Friday night now as well. So I completely agree that, it's just good to have that competition in the middle.
And Elliot, just quick rating on Chalobah. What are you giving him today?
I'd give him a 7 today. I don't think he was absolutely at his best. I think he played pretty well. I don't know if they're trying to stop him getting booked, or maybe he was trying to get booked so that he would be back for the Bournemouth game, but I don't think he was at his best today. I don't think he had a bad game, and I don't think he looked out of place in that three-man midfield. They seem to all play pretty well. They seem to all be on the same page. So I don't think it was a bad performance by any means from him, but I just know he's capable of more. So I think I'd give him a 7.
Yeah, I think that's really fair, and I definitely think Chalobah's just, again, another player who benefits from playing in a midfield three alongside Hughesy and Cleverley as well. Just moving on to the front three, Sam, we'll start with the right hand side. Ismaila Sarr got in some really dangerous areas, didn't he, down the right hand side? And there was a number of times where you thought potentially if there was a bit more, this is maybe a bit harsh on JP, but someone who's a bit better aerially, then we could have got on some of the crosses. But I think he menaced down the left-hand side, the right-hand side on Preston's left-hand side quite a lot of the night. Did you think he had a good game?
I thought Sarr had a very good game. I think we saw a different side to what kind of you need from a winger. I thought he went out, came back and helped out Kiko Femini quite a bit. Something that I was frustrated with earlier in the season that we're seeing now is he happily gets his sleeves rolled up and gets physical with the other team, and that's something improving in his game as a young player that he kind of needs to bring in. So because he didn't really set the world alight, it was a pretty solid performance. I'll give him, I don't think any higher than a 7.5.
Yeah, I think
7.5 today.
Well, I think he set the standard now, hasn't he, against Bristol City? About the 10 out of 10 performance.
I mean, you know what, you say that I mean, obviously we want Sarr to have 5 goal involvements every week, but if it's not going to be a game like that where he doesn't have space, we need him at least to kind of be putting that effort in and that graft to help out other players and try and create opportunities. And I thought he did that really well tonight. Yeah,
absolutely. There's one thing you can't question Sarr, and that is his work rate. I think he again showed that tonight. Elliot, for you, the other side, Ken Sema. I'll tell you what, before we get into his rating, that clip on socials did make me really laugh with Ken, because I think it was Rookery Mike, wasn't it?
It was.
Kind of pranked Ken with the phone call. But it was, top man Mike, and make sure you go and check out the From the Rookery End podcast. Elliot, for you, Ken Sema tonight, similar rating to Sarr?
Yeah, similar rating. I think he caused a lot of problems. I think we saw some very, very positive moments from Ken Sema, and he, like Sarr, caused the fullback a lot of problems. I think maybe I'm seeing a lot of 8s, and I don't want to sway myself too much by going with the people, but I actually think he's probably
voice of the people.
Yeah, exactly. I think he probably was a little better than Sarr today. I think he's showing more in attack than we've ever seen from him. We know how great he's been defensively, which is now not his role, and he's now turning into a winger as well. So he's completely got that left side completely how he wants it, and I thought he was very good tonight. I think he's pretty skillful as well, which is maybe something new that we haven't seen as much, and he caused the Preston right back a lot of problems. So I'd give him a 7.5, I think.
Yeah, and moving on to the goal scorer, the match winner, João Pedro, JP. It was a really well taken penalty, really well taken penalty. But his overall game tonight, Sam, for you, I think he was listed in the man of the match nominees. I don't think he's probably near man of the match, but certainly I thought he was decent, I think, and obviously got the match winner.
Yeah, he was very good. Again, like the others in the front three, it's a difficult game to kind of create opportunities and find space. So I thought he grafted really well taking penalty. I actually thought I didn't have a good feeling about it because I saw him. He was just looking down at the pitch. Now a couple of bubbles in there. I was just thinking that this could go horribly wrong, but he took it really well. I'm going to give João Pedro a 7.5. I didn't think he at times I think he looked a bit frustrated, and I kind of feel like he could do a bit more in those situations, perhaps go and look for the ball. But
Sam, do you think he's done enough to keep his place? Sorry to butt in there. I just saw that question. Has JP done enough to keep his place?
It's really difficult because I feel like he would be more suited to games such as Bournemouth coming up, where they perhaps will press us higher, and he perhaps has more space. And if Derby sit in, then maybe I'd go for Stipe Perizza. But I don't think Pedro did badly tonight. But I still kind of expect a bit more from him, perhaps, and not with him not looking as frustrated. But that will come as a young player, still in a new country. So I think 7.5 is probably fair for him.
7.5. Well, we made 3 substitutions today. Zinchenko, Gosling, and Stipe Perizza came on. We won't rate Stipe because he didn't actually. I don't think he maybe had 1 or 2 touches of the ball. I think someone we can give a rating to though is Dan Gosling. Elliot. He seems to have come on the last 2 games, and I think when we spoke to Tom from the Bournemouth podcast, Back of the Net, he mentioned about the work rate, the desire, the passion, the commitment. And to be honest, from what we've seen in these little cameos from Dan Gosling, he seems to really epitomise everything that Bournemouth fans have said about him. But his performance, sure, maybe a solid 6.5, 7.
Yeah, I'd maybe even go up to a 7.5.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think 7's about right because he didn't play for too long. But yeah, he seems to just have his role and he plays it perfectly, and that's exactly what we need. I know we were waxing lyrical about him when he came on at half-time against Bristol City. There's an aura of calmness about him that you know that when he's on the ball, he's going to play the right pass. He's going to shore up the midfield. He's not going to let anything seep through the cracks. So I think he was, I thought he was very good. And I think he is quite a good player that we could bring in against Derby. I wouldn't complain if he was in the starting 11 on Friday night. And he's probably improving the performances of the midfield 3 because they know they've got someone who's experienced and also very capable in this league behind them. So I think the signing is looking better and better every week, and he's proven himself 2 games in a row now. So I'll go 7.5. I think it was
Ben Watson, very Ben Watson-esque signing.
Yeah.
He just seems to have an instant impact. He knows his way around the league. He knows his way around winning games and kind of grinding out results, and it mirrors kind of the two signings
impact,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Whether he stays on in the Premier League or has as big of an impact, I think he's really good to have in the squad at the moment in the Championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sam, I'll just throw it over to you. Zinchenko received a little bit of criticism online. I think it's very difficult for a player, regardless of, I think PZ7 certainly liked amongst the fan base already, and we want to see more of him. But, it's difficult for any player to come on and make an impact. But I think it's probably fair to say there was a couple of times he was a little bit sloppy on the ball. And I think particularly towards the end, I think you mentioned the match reaction, that kind of that 4-on-5 or whatever, 5-on-4, whatever it was. And Zinchenko played a really loose pass. A little bit disappointing.
Disappointing, yeah, but it's also a really difficult game to come into. We need some perspective that as substitute, particularly an attacking one out wide, it's difficult to come into a game like that where you're kind of seeing out a win and you're not going to see much of the ball. That being said, when he did have the ball, he wasted it a lot of the time. If you're not gonna, if you're gonna wait to pass it that long, either get the pass right or go to the corner with it. So decision making wasn't great. Probably give him a 5.5.
I think as you said,
it's difficult to give any higher, isn't it?
We haven't. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, go on, Elliot.
Yeah, it's maybe this is a too simple a way to look at it, but I think with Sarr and Semi, you've got 2 very physical wingers that are always going to track back and try and fight for the ball and try and win possession. And I don't think Zinchenko is necessarily that type of winger. Yeah. Maybe that's why the integration into the starting 11 has been this slow, because they're trying to get him to play the way that Watford want him to play, which is when he is dropping deep, he is winning the ball and he's turning over possession and creating chances maybe from deep. So that might
be a good
the
sign.
But yeah.
Like when he was running with the ball, obviously that final ball has to improve. But it's a good sign, the fact that he's able to pick up the ball in that position and drive us up the pitch and in those minutes. And if that final ball improves, then we'll be sat here, winning that game 2-0 and hopefully future games as well.
I've just seen a point from Pete in the chat, which is exactly what I was thinking. Actually, he did try and nutmeg someone very far back in the pitch. And I think that's not probably what Xisco Munoz would want from him. So he would.
No, he should have done a
imagine
Roberto
that's something that I really dread to think what would have happened if Vladimir Ivic was in the dugout for that, because I don't think we'd see him anymore. So I think that's a little worrying, but that's just little things that you can iron out and say, look, don't try skills when don't try and skill anyone up from this area of the pitch, and this isn't necessarily how we do it here, especially not 1-0 up in the dying stages of the game. So just little things that will change naturally, and he'll get better every week. And I think maybe he needs to start even more now after a performance like that, just to hit the ground running, get a 90 minutes under his belt, and maybe get to prove himself. And maybe Friday night is the game for that. I think Sarr and Temra played a lot now, so maybe it is the time to bring Zinkernagel in. So, well, we've said it every week, when is Zinkernagel going to start? But I think he would benefit from starting a game and knowing that he's in the team from minute one, and he's sort of not being chucked in at the deep end with 10 minutes to go, which he has been, to be honest, for recent weeks.
Yeah, really I think that's really, really fair, Elliot. And, we have... Go on, mate.
No, I was saying, though, I feel like it's difficult because if you look at the last time we were in the Championship in 2014-15, I think teams kind of allowed us to have more freedom. We saw that we blew Fulham away 5-0, beat Blackpool 7-2, scored 4 away at Reading and 3 away at Leeds, that kind of thing. And I think teams now, the Championship's evolved, and teams kind of sitting in much more now and trying to kind of stifle the way that teams build up. And it's difficult for a player like Zinkernagel to adapt to that in this division, and it will take time. And that's why I don't think perhaps he is as good of an impact sub when you're kind of seeing out a win. So perhaps we'll only really see the best of him when he does start. But tonight, I don't think he really did himself any favours with that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree to an extent, Sam, in terms of it's very difficult for a player to come on and make an impact when they haven't played in England before. They're kind of getting used to the tempo of the league, the physicality. It's very difficult to make an impact in the 10-15 minutes. However, at the moment, with the last 2 games, it's unlikely that Zinkernagel is probably going to get thrown into the deep end and start really at the moment. So I guess he has to take that opportunity and maybe perform a little bit better than he did today. But I think he's a talented footballer, and I think it will just come with time. But yes, we want to see more of him, absolutely. I'll tell you what, Sam, just to wrap up, we'll get a rating from each of you for Xisco Munoz today. You said he got his tactics bang on. So what rating are you giving Xisco for today's win and performance?
I don't want to give him a 10 because I feel like, a 10 is perfection. I'd say it was the best so far. I'd probably go with a 9.5. 9.5 I'll go with because I thought he got his subs on spot on as well. Perhaps he could have brought on a centre half, but I think he was kind of looking at the possibility of counter-attacking of Preston. So I'll give him a 9.5. I thought he did really well.
Elliot, for you?
I'd give him a little bit lower. I think I'd give him an 8.5, maybe a 9. I think the fact that we won maybe gives him the benefit of the doubt a little bit, but there were a couple of times where we got scared at the end by attacks where they were flinging them into the box or playing it up in the air, and a couple of times there weren't players there to win the header, and I think maybe we would have benefited from bringing on someone like William Troost-Ekong or Ben Wilmot. So maybe that's me playing safe. Maybe that's me being a defender as I always have been in Sunday League. So I just think maybe he should have stuck on a defender and played it safe. But I guess he won, so there's no complaints. So I think 8.5.
Jacob, what position did you play Sunday League?
What position did I play? I played as a central midfielder.
Central midfielder. Jacob's laggy.
Is it lagging? I'll tell you what.
Yeah, it's lagging.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. We'll save the Sunday League chat for another day. But I did used to play central midfielder. I thought I'd think of myself as a little bit of a maybe a little bit of Will Hughes combined with a bit of Zinkernagel. But yeah, no,
I was more
tell you what.
I was a bit of a Dan Burn personally. I was always in the lower divisions as well.
I was going to put Zinedine Zidane out, but that's probably a bit too.
He's better
Sam, what
than
about you?
Zidane. Let's get that going. I'm a
Yeah,
goalkeeper.
yeah.
No, hardly anyone knows that I'm a goalkeeper.
Oh, yeah. Is the Jonathan Bond podcast that inspired you?
No, do you know what? He helped out so much. I got a pair of gloves from him. I got a pair of boots from him as well. So that was class. I got scouted back in year 9. So 5 years.
We all heard that story, Sam.
I was never anywhere near any of that.
No, I miss Sunday League so much though. Like generally, just waking up on a Sunday morning hungover. But bring out my prime Jack Bonham when we're chasing a win with 5 minutes to go.
Oh mate, I tell you what, we'll have to have a chat about the Sunday League in the future videos. But that's where we're going to wrap up the player rating. Sorry if it was a little bit laggy towards the end on my part. I have paid the Wi-Fi bill for this month. I think there was probably just a few connection difficulties. But if you did enjoy the player ratings, please do leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe to WD18. As I said, follow Elliot and Sam on their socials. They do some fantastic content, I say every week, but make sure you do go and follow those guys. It really does mean a lot. And yeah, let us know what you think in the comment section below. We'll see you very soon. Up the Hornets. Let's do it. Good stuff. Cheers, guys.